Just a little side note, if you could bear with me half a second. The little cat sitting right there in the window, just because he happens to be there. When our pets were tested by Michigan State, that was one of the animals we took in because we had adopted him into the home very ill.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Is it possible that we let that down so we can see her face? I am so sorry.
No,
You're okay.
No, that's a good. Thank you.
I'm not very tall.
Thank you very much. Start over. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. The little cat sitting right there in his window, his name is Jadefre. He was a rescue off of our front porch. He came in very ill, and that was in October of 2013. He was sick through June of 2014, and was actually, that by then we had switched to the Flint water service. He was tested by Michigan State. He's one of our 4 that were tested by Michigan State University. And he came back with a blood lead level of 15. Speaking to 3 different vets in that department, they did forewarn me that cat, because he was ill and he was young, will be our first one to die. So as long as he was showing himself, there is one example of what has happened to this family. We have buried one dog. She was necropsied and found to have died from lead poisoning. We know the other animals, the other 3 dogs we have, are all lead poisoned, and so is one other cat. So just because he happened to be there, I wanted to bring that up first. What happened here is in 15, remember, nobody said anything about lead. The first I heard about it was September 15th of 2015, and that's when I attended a meeting Mark Edwards was having where he first announced there was lead in the Flint water system. In June of 2015, so this is before that, our daughter Victoria was in Ann Arbor for a bone scan, unrelated to anything to do with the water. We didn't have a water crisis. They pulled me out of the room where she was having it done and asked me what we had done to our daughter. I had no clue what they meant at that time. I wound up in a room with 3 doctors and 2 techs, having explained to me that they have found actual lines of lead deposits in all of her growth plates. At the time, she was 15. We called her school. We ruled out any lead abatement they were doing. We hadn't done anything here like that. And at the end of that meeting, they were asking me if there was anything I could think of, environmental, that could have caused an issue. And I said, the only change I can think of is a switch to the Flint water, but I'm sure that's not it. Had no idea. In August, early August, my husband was using the computer one morning and lost half the vision in his right eye. Didn't know what had happened. Immediately took him to the doctor, a cardiologist, 2 eye specialists later. Found out Mike had had an eye stroke. The artery behind his right eye had actually exploded from excessively high blood pressure. And because it was an artery, he doesn't get his vision back. He's still missing a third of the vision in his right eye. This is still in August, early August. Not a word has been said. Mid-August, our oldest daughter, Stephanie, becomes ill. Very ill. We took her to the clinic. They said she had bronchitis. We took her to the doctor. The following Monday, she had pneumonia. Mid-August, September, and early October, they had tried 7 antibiotics. The pneumonia was getting worse, not better. So our family doctor took a sample, sent it into the CDC to ask them to just diagnose what type of bacteria she had. December 6th, we were informed the CDC had written him back and told him that she had had Legionnaires. She is one of the very first cases, as confirmed by the CDC, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, to have acquired Legionnaires actually in her own home. She was not in any way connected with the hospital. She got that here. They didn't even say anything about the Legionnaires outbreak until January of 16. So as all these things are hitting our family, we have no idea what's wrong, but suddenly we have huge, major, serious medical problems. So finally in September, I found out about the lead crisis. We didn't even put mics together at that point. It was much later in October when somebody, because they were focusing on the children, which I understand that. But a reporter asked Dr. Mona what happens to adults that are exposed, and she said the most common thing is uncontrollably high blood pressure. Now Vicky's we figured out right away. The lead lines, lead water, that was easy. Mike's took longer. They've ruled his heart out. everything's fine. I spent 8 months arguing with the top of the state to simply cover Mike's medical bills due to his lead poisoning. According to the CDC, Dr. Eden Wells, and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, my husband is a textbook case of adult with lead poisoning. However, they would love to help us. They cannot. So we owe right around $9,000 for his care still, because the state cannot, will not, however you want to put that, help pay his medical bills for his lead poisoning. Needless to say, this has really destroyed my family in ways I can't even imagine. My 16-year-old has PTSD very seriously. And it's not the normal PTSD. You know, it's running water. It's taking a shower. It's the animals drinking water. So then, the next thing you know, I'm looking at the news, and Governor Snyder just removed for himself $800,000 initially to cover his criminal defense. I can't get $9,000 to pay for the damages done to my spouse by the state. And at that point, I was done. There has to be an answer. There has to be a way to get justice for Flint. There has got to be compensation to this community. We are 4 people. We're a very small family. That leaves 99,996 more people in this community. And a lot of them are sick. And we're not getting help. But not only are we not getting help, and the reaction by the state, in my opinion, has been anemic at best. But on top of that, we're now being asked to turn around and pay for the defense from the very man that says he takes the responsibility, says and agrees everybody answered only to him. But we're footing his criminal defense. For me, that's a no-brainer, line in the sand, we're done. There has to be help for Flint.